Hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So, as you can see, I'm not at the airport.
Hi, Anila.
Hello, Noah. How are you?
Okay, sad that you are not in the airport.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not at the airport. I am in the snow. Actually, we have lots of snow. The weather is absolutely beautiful. So, it could be worse. So, I have to find the text. I'm a little bit unprepared. But anyway, I wanted to discuss a few things with you before we start. Because this afternoon we did Medicine Buddha Puja, or practice. Wait, I have to find the text here. And so we kind of came up with the idea maybe we should start an hour earlier. So what do you think? Would you prefer that we start at 7 o'clock, or do you prefer that we keep it at 8? Okay, Ariela says 7 o'clock is
One
fine.
hour early.
1 hour earlier, right.
I
Do we have
prefer
any?
8. Otherwise, I will not be able to.
Okay, so I notice 8 o'clock. What about the others?
8 is all right for us.
For you, it's okay at 7.
7 is a bit early.
7 is too early, okay. Well, from my side, we can keep it at 8. The thing is, on the 29th, also, on the 29th is Lama Tsongkhapa Day, which is usually a big celebration amongst the Tibetans, especially amongst the Geluks, but also amongst others. If you are in Kopan on this day, or if you're in Bodhgaya, I don't know if anybody has ever been in Bodhgaya in December when there was Lama Tsongkhapa Day, and everybody goes to the stupa and is doing big light offering, and is chanting, the praise to Lama Tsongkhapa. And so it's big celebration because he's really a very important scholar who has especially taught on emptiness in a very extensive way. So I thought not next Wednesday, but then after Christmas on the 29th, we could do something special. So we do Lama Chöpa, which is also done that day. Anyway, it's a Tsog day. We will do at 4 o'clock Israeli time, and instead of the Medicine Buddha practice. And then we will do, I thought we could just read together the praise to dependent arising, because also the verses we will look at today have a lot to do with emptiness. And it's like, because realizing emptiness directly is extremely difficult, as you might have noticed. It's not so difficult to understand it intellectually, but then in difficult situations to remember that, but everything is just a projection of my mind. I still need to act, but I need to act to this projection of my mind and not to something that seems to be real, existing from its own side out there. So then reciting these texts is extremely helpful. I don't know anybody is familiar with the text. It's a very beautiful text. It's actually the text is from Lama Tsongkhapa, but it's a praise to Shakyamuni Buddha, who taught dependent arising. So by reciting these texts, my phone is ringing, but I don't know where it is. We just let it ring. So reciting these texts is giving us the positive energy that we need in order to realize it directly. So that's what we will do, whether you're happy about it or not. Sorry, I'll make the decision. We're not going to discuss it. But then what we will do is also light offering, because light offering is a big part of Lama Tsongkhapa Day. So I will have a tray full of lights here, and I will do it, and we will do some meditation on sending out the light that we kind of offer, and you will have to find your own lights. Your own candles, can be 1, can be 100, can be many. And I know that quite a few of you are already familiar with the practice, because usually when we did the longer retreats, like many years ago, when I started to come to Israel, and people still had time for like maybe, let's say, 5-day retreat or sometimes even 7-day retreat. And so always the last evening, we would do light offering. And everybody could say their dedications, and in Inbar we would do outside. It was very beautiful there in the courtyard. I see some people smiling, and brings back really nice memories. Then in Tuval, I think we did in the Moadon, if I'm not mistaken, one day. I think it was in Inbar also. We put the candles too close together. It was tea lights, and it was like a huge flame, because like all these little lights, they kind of made one big flame. So it was quite amazing. And it's really good to offer light, especially in order, one offers light in order to have, of course, to dispel the darkness of ignorance. So that's what we will do, and then maybe I find a video, so you don't have just to listen to me chanting Mimet Sevetet and Chenresik. I will find a video where you hear many monks and nuns reciting Lama Tsongkhapa's praise. So that's on the 29th, but that one we will start at, anyway, I'll have to discuss it with Shachar and with Leora, because if many of you say that 7 o'clock is too early, then we'll keep it at 8 o'clock, so that's fine. Yeah? It looks like that 8 o'clock is better for you guys, isn't it?
But didn't you say on the 29th it would be at 4 p.m.? Or
yeah,
I misunderstood?
Every Wednesday now there's 2 things anyway.
I understand. Every Wednesday, 7 or 8, that's one thing. But then you said specifically on the 29th at 4 p.m.?
Also, but also today we did Medicine Buddha practice at 4 o'clock. That's also every Wednesday now, since 2 or 3 weeks, I think. For people who need positive energy right now, we do the Medicine Buddha practice because, again, it's a matter of faith, of course. It's a matter of trust, because it says in the texts that these 7 Medicine Buddhas, they have made promises that if one would recite their names, it would activate their positive energy that they have from having attained full awakening, especially in degenerate times. And I think degenerate times we really have now. And maybe also some of you, you're not so keen on reciting mantras and visualization and rituals and all this. But I think we underestimate the power of this, because of course the result is not coming immediately. But if you do this regularly, I don't know how, and I don't know how it works. The only thing I know that it does work. Every time when I don't feel well and I don't know how to help, I very often sit down and do a puja or do, say some mantras, and then at least I don't feel so useless. And when I don't feel useless, then sometimes I become even useful. And if I don't become useful, then me not feeling useless, that doesn't harm anybody, and it really helps me. So, very often when I at one point I thought I let somebody down who then died in Delhi. I was in Bodhgaya and I said, look, I'm sorry, I can't come in the middle of a course. And I was the only one teaching, and then he died. And I felt so terrible. I really, really felt terrible until later on. Then I got to know the whole story. And I was sitting in Bodhgaya and I felt so guilty and ashamed and really bad about myself. And then I thought, what are you doing? He died. You feeling terrible is not going to help him. You're in Bodhgaya, the holiest place on this planet for Buddhists. Why don't you go out to the shops and you buy some offerings? You go down to the puja, to the stupa, and you make a beautiful altar, and you offer lights, and you do puja, and you do the puja for his passing in the bardo, and then to attain a good rebirth. And then I was able to let go of that guilt. Yeah. But he really wanted to die. It looked as it's quite an amazing story. And it looked as if he had kind of planned to die. He was Shall we do Bodhicharyavatara? Shall I tell you the story?
Story.
Yeah, okay. No, because it is quite amazing. I used to be how to say, an alcohol, I used to be an alcoholic. You all know that, I hope. And then I gave up drinking, and then I started to have problems. Really, because I was full of fear the whole time, panicky fear, like really bad. And I didn't attempt suicide, but I would have really liked, because I thought I can't do that to my dad. He would feel terrible, he would feel guilty, I can't do this. But I would have loved to die. I would have loved to kind of fall down the stairs, break my neck, it's an accident, and then that's it. I was depressed all the time, I couldn't sleep, and this and that. And then at one point I thought, well, now I need help, so I need to go and find a therapist. I wasn't a Buddhist then, I still had the restaurant. So somebody suggested this man who is a Zen Buddhist, but also has a PhD in theology, so he's also a Christian. And so I went to his sessions for maybe 2 years. And then I decided, not because he told me to, but I decided to stop with the restaurant because I didn't want to earn my money with that anymore anyway. And to go away, just to go away, not knowing what to do. I just left. I knew I wanted to go to the South Pacific, which then I finally arrived there. Because why? Because I wanted to go and visit the graves of Jacques Brel. Maybe some of you know, well, Edouard knows. Noah also is nodding. He was one of my idols. He is still one of my idols. And Paul Gauguin, which is in the Marquesas. So then that's what I did. So I ended up there after maybe 4 months of traveling, because I didn't want to go with an aeroplane. I wanted to go by ship. I don't know where I had these crazy ideas. With all my panic attacks and everything, so it's like my best friend, when I said what I wanted to do, she said, what, you? So sometimes actually it's quite good to doubt somebody, because then in me there was this feeling of, I'll show you, if you think I can't do this, I'll show you. So then it actually, her doubt in me that I was able to do this kind of encouraged me to go ahead and do it. So I went ahead without making that many plans. I just went from place to place. Anyway, so, and then of course I was South Pacific, then in Asia, then I was in Copan, and I became a nun, and I stayed in India. So one day, as I was visiting my parents in Switzerland, maybe 4 or 5 years later, I didn't really want to go to the place where the restaurant was, but I somehow ended up there, and I bumped into him, into that psychotherapist. And we went to have a drink, and he said, look, I have read that the Tibetans have a good way of dying. Can you introduce me, if I come to India, to some lamas who who can teach me that? And so I said, well, yeah, if you want to come to India, why not? And he was also, because I had contacted him before, he was sponsoring a monk friend of mine who wanted to study psychology. So I thought, well, he could go to Ladakh, because Wangchuk was in Ladakh, and he knows all these lamas and who are accessible in Ladakh, and so he can take him around. So that's what happened. He came to India, and he met Wangchuk, and so they went to see some lamas. And on the way to Nubra Valley, he had bleeding in his brain or something. Something was wrong with his brain. And this is Ladakh, where there's no helicopters and no this and that. So I don't know how many of you have been to Nubra Valley. It's one of the highest passes, and it takes like 2 days to get there. So Wangchuk was kind of carrying him in his arms back to Leh, on the plane to Delhi, to the hospital. And they saw that he had a brain tumor, which he had already had. So he must have had that brain tumor already when he was asking me about lamas, how to die. So he must also have had a very good insurance. So, they had sent a plane to get him home, And when he knew that the plane was coming to get him back to Switzerland, he said, "Who said I want to go back to Switzerland? I don't want to go back." And he died in the ambulance from the hospital to the airport. And then his sister called me, or Wangchu called me, and he said, "Look, I'm really sorry, but he died." Because I'd said, I finished the course and then I come, to Delhi. So Wangchu had, he called me and he said, "Well, he does die." And then, of course, you know how you feel. Like he came to India because of me, more or less, or I had arranged it, and then he dies there. But then with this whole story, because of the brain tumor, and because he's a psychologist, he probably knows what a brain tumor can do to your mind. So he didn't want to live with that anymore. And the brain tumor was malignant. It wasn't benign. So we kind of, I will never know, right? But we kind of decided that we'll go with the idea that because he died, he wasn't that bad then, but he died from the trip from the hospital to the ambulance, that we kind of thought that that's what he really wanted. He didn't want to live with that brain tumor anymore, and he wanted to die before he was going totally, off. I will never know if that's true or not, but so that's it. So it's probably somebody who saved my life, that I didn't then, I was able to leave where I was and I didn't commit suicide. So not just probably, but for sure. So I was able to make the steps out of being dependent on alcohol and in a good way, without needing any other drugs or something. So coming back to Medicine Buddha, so that's what I did. I bought some beautiful offerings. I made a beautiful altar. I think I did the puja I did in Root Institute, but then of course, I went to the stupa and offered light and all this. This is a good way when you feel guilty that you didn't treat somebody, or when somebody dies and you feel guilty. Instead of feeling guilty, it's really good to do something for them. And what can you do but pujas? Puja is really easy. Yeah, puja's practices is really easy because all you have to do is recite. And but I can go blah 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 and tell you how this is. Best way is that you have to find out yourself. And this is why we decided to do, for the pandemic also, we decided to do Medicine Buddha practice every Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So coming back to your question, Ariela, so on the 29th, instead of doing Medicine Buddha practice, we will do Lama Chöpa, which is Guru Puja, offering to the Guru, right? So I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. At the beginning, kind of when I did come to Israel, we did quite often, especially Yom Kippur, because it falls on the same day, and one offers Guru Puja every 10th and every 25th. And I was kind of under the impression that, because when we did Guru Puja in Tushita, in the courses, and many Israelis come to these courses, so when we did them there, all the Israelis would participate, and we also had some monks, some Tibetan monks, who kind of sang in a very beautiful way. This was ironic. I don't know if anybody has been at the pujas at Tushita. Kind of all kinds of levels of tunes, and nobody cared. It was just very loud, because that's important in a Tibetan puja, that you sing loud. It doesn't matter how you sing, but you need to sing loud, because it opens up your channels, which is a very good thing. Here in the West, if you kind of sing off tune, you don't dare to sing anymore, which is a real shame, because singing is really good for the mind also. So pujas are always sung with a lot of, very loud, and you don't care how you sing, and all this. So the Israelis there, they participated because, of course, it's exotic. It's India, it's a kind of retreat center, you have Tibetan monks, you have Western Sangha, And you have Western students who come to the pujas, like Gila used to come up every time, and like this. So I was under the impression that it wouldn't be so difficult for Israelis to do pujas. But then when I was in Israel, I saw it was difficult, and there was, people would kind of complain that we were doing pujas. And so I said, look, I'm not here to upset people. So then we kind of stopped. And what I used to do in the last few years I was there, we would do it more or less privately, right? In somebody's home, the right days, because it's on the 10th and on the 25th, do it people who really like to do it, which of course takes away the opportunity from others to participate and maybe discover that actually this is a good thing. So coming back to Guru Puja, you don't need to understand. It's very complex, and most of it is chanted in Tibetan anyway. I will lead it. Most of it's chanted in Tibetan. You don't need to understand. This is the nice thing about pujas. You don't really need to understand. You just need to do it. And you need to do it with some imagination, as much as you can bring up that this is going to work. This is going to create a lot of positive energy, which will make things easier, or which will make your mind spacious. And it does make your mind spacious. Why? Because you have to go against your ego. And every time you win against your ego, you create more space in your mind. This is what I found out after 2 years of sitting in Tara Puja at Tushita and being totally miserable and thinking, well, they can't sing, and anyway, what is this? And this is crazy, and I don't like pujas, and especially not the Tara Puja, and blah, 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 and this and that. I had such a hard time, and it maybe took, because I'm a nun, right? So I can't say I'm not coming to the puja, I don't like it, I had to go. And then I think about maybe after 2 years of suffering every time, all of a sudden I had this idea, or this thought came up, and I thought, just stop complaining. What's the harm done? Come on, the puja lasts an hour and a half. You've done so many stupid things in your life. So it's like, it's okay. Just do it. And I tell you, it was like a dam breaking, and I could see, intelligence or reasonability had won against my ego, who tried to say this is stupid and this is superstitious and you're not religious and blah 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 and you don't like prayers and what are you doing? The intelligence or the sound reason came up and saying, what's the harm? You are following a philosophical system that the religious part is part of it. And you can see the results in all these people who do it. So why don't you at least try to do it? And since then, I discovered the power of doing pujas, but I had to go against my ego. I suffered 2 years. So there you go. So this is what we will do. So if you do come at 4 o'clock on the 29th, and you come in with an idea that you need to understand everything, then don't come, because you will suffer. So if you come on the 29th at 4 o'clock, just happily singing along, thinking, bodhicitta, right? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do this because I have enough confidence in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and in the Dalai Lama, who is doing this puja every two weeks, and many of the other lamas, that this creates enough positive energy that I will go a few steps closer to awakening. If you can have this attitude of humility, of not having to understand everything intellectually immediately, then come and try it out. It's a bit of a shame, because at Lama Chöpa there's always a lot of really good things offered. Like one tries to buy good things, expensive things that you normally wouldn't buy because you think it's too expensive or too fancy or something like that, to eat. Can be salty, can be sweet, can be healthy, can be unhealthy. It doesn't matter, because the point of it is that you let go of ordinary view of seeing This is healthy, this is unhealthy, this is good, this is bad for the environment, this is good for the environment. You let go of this ordinary view and you transform everything into emptiness, and then you let it arise as nectar, and you train the mind to see it as nectar. Okay, so this is the tantric method of the quick path to go to transform ordinary stuff into nectar and bliss. If you do have at least an intellectual understanding about emptiness. So that will happen on the 29th, and because many people practice, if you go to the stupa in Bodh there is so many people going round and round and round. So I don't know if any of you know Ciliana. Ciliana is an Italian nun. She's quite small and quite round. So she was, you kind of quetched into this mass of people going around the stupa, that all of a sudden, because it was so tight and she's so small, somehow the people who surrounded her with their bodies lifted her up, and her feet were going like this. She was not touching the ground anymore. So that's how many people are there I don't know, this year maybe not, and last year also maybe not, I don't know. But usually it's the Kargyu Mönlam also at this time before Christmas. So then you have all the Kargyu monks there who come along happily chanting Mimet Sevetechen Chenrizik. So that's the holiness of that day. So whenever there's a holy day, many people practice, they say it creates more merit. Okay? Do you have questions? Because otherwise we can start with the reflection or with the meditation and then go into the text. So it will be on the website, yeah? So, okay. So,
Anila, how
yeah.
many candles to bring? How many candles?
As many as you can.
Okay.
As many as you can. And with each candle you light, you make a wish. Or you light it for somebody or for something.
Before we start, or through the session?
We will do a ceremony. You light it during the ceremony.
Okay.
So when we do light offering in a group during the courses, it was at least 100 lights. But I'm not asking you to get 100 lights individually, but you could. And then you put it on a tray, not too close together. And if you have a tray and a table, you need to put some foil, some alu foil, so that because it gets very hot. The wax gets very hot, so that your table doesn't get burn marks. So like this, it can be one candle, it can be many. So whatever. This is absolutely up to you, but. You can maybe check on Google or find on Google when you put Bodh Gaya and light offering, then you see oceans of light, like every day there's so many lights that are being offered, butter lamps, also in Bodhnath, at the stupa in Bodhnath in Nepal or other places. You always have a house in a temple, a little house where they offer butter lamps, and you go there. And it's a very nice custom. Or if you go to the Sepulchre Church in Jerusalem also, then everybody who comes in takes a candle and lights a candle and makes a wish, or, a wish. Have you ever been there? Have you ever lit a candle there? You should. I mean, it's so nice. Also here in Europe, whenever I go to a church and there's candles that you can light, I always do. It's such a nice thing to do. Being grateful for what we have, making the wish that everybody has these good things, offering the light and visualizing many things that you offer with the light. It's really nice to do light offering. It goes into the text what we're looking at today also, because it's easy. And this is before we offer our limbs and our body. Then we learn to make an altar with water that we kind of can pour out every evening, or light offerings, or little things like cookies, and maybe I can show you, because I'm in a studio, I'm not in a temple. So I have a very interesting altar, because when I came, it's probably too much light. when I came, that's the only place I could do an altar. And there's 2 angels there, but you can't see it because there's too much light. There's 2 angels on the altar, and then I made my Buddhas around the angels, and the water bowls, and the offerings. So there's cookies and chocolate. There's a candle that is burning, and like that. And this is how I start the day. And the water bowls are really tiny, because I don't have that much space, but it's fine. It doesn't matter. So I say, Lama Zopa would probably say, oh, they're too small. But, they're nice. They're quite precious. They're kind of Chinese bowls. And so this is how I start the day. And it's a really nice way to start the day by making offerings to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and visualizing the 7 bowls. And you visualize you offer water for drinking, like masses of water for drinking, water for washing, flowers, incense, lamps, perfume, food and music. It's the sense offerings you make to the Buddhas. So, and it's easy, it's very easy. So this is how we learn to give first, by making offerings to holy objects. I know it sounds strange, but you only find out the power of these practices when you start doing it. How many of you have helped making the altar at Tuval or, where was it, Nesamim, Dalit, yeah? You ever helped doing the altar? Is it a joyful experience or not?
Yes, of course. Of course it is.
Yeah, of course it is. And everybody who comes in and sees these beautiful things on the altar, it just makes the mind happy instantaneously, because there's no attachment there, because not like in a shop that you go like, oh, should I buy this? Should I not buy this? So you're just rejoicing about beautiful things, because it's always arranged in a very beautiful way. And usually, we just put all the things there in the packet, and then, the packets get opened, and then we try to arrange it in a really beautiful way, and it's so joyful. We want to have joy, and it's a simple and easy way to be joyful. And then at the end it gets distributed. People can take it home. Which of course this time will not happen, because you can't take it home, because I can't beam it over to you. But yeah. So if Elisheva, with your question, how many lights? Many. Well, you just finished Hanukkah, isn't it? Is finished or is still? Yeah. So you also have this tradition of offering light, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. Almost all the traditions have this, offering light.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's just for nothing, then why would all the traditions still have it? If it's just silly and stupid and waste of time. Okay. All clear? Okay, so we do just meditation a bit, to center ourselves, not needing to make a decision now. Shall I participate? Shall I not participate? See how you feel. And with the Zoom, even if you're there in person, if you feel that you really dislike it and you really have like aversion arising, then you just zoom out. It's okay. I'm not angry, If you want to leave also during the talks, you don't have to kind of close your camera and then leave. Just zoom out and that's it. So you don't have to pretend that you're still there. It's no point. Can be honest, and nobody's forced to listen to me. It's fine. Yeah, I'm not wondering, oh, what happened? It's like, if you want to tell me why you left, okay, you can. If you don't want to tell me, it's fine. It's like absolutely no problem. So try to relax, okay, as much as you can. Connect with your body, feeling happy that we are alive. My gosh, and we are in the position that we are. We will do a reflection at the end about, thinking again about the good things that we have. It's not from me, it's from Rick Hansen. I came across this, I think, 2 weeks ago, which I found very beautiful. So already now we try to rejoice. I can breathe, Quite a few people all over the planet are on these, how do you call it? Incubators or something. They're incubated They cannot breathe by themselves anymore, or many of them need oxygen. So feel that oxygen entering your nostrils, going to your lungs. And feel how you expel all this when you breathe out, all the things that the body cannot use. And feel that you can do this absolutely freely. No need for a machine, no need for like oxygen from outside. Isn't that wonderful? And check your mind state when we take each breath. You know, not the whole day, you don't have to be so mindful the whole day. But just a few moments in the day to kind of go almost with a sense of wonder. Ah, I can breathe freely. How wonderful. And you'll drop the other stuff. We can take it up again afterwards. But we drop all the problems, the difficulties. How would these difficulties and problems be if we couldn't breathe? Much worse. But we can breathe. So we connect with the body and just follow in breath, out breath. Very simple. No need to be complicated. Recognizing in breath for in breath, out breath for out breath. If you feel that the mind has moved away, you're already back to the breath. So that's the practice. To notice when you're not on your breath, and if needed, to bring the attention back. Simple. Not complicated. Make sure that there's no tensions anywhere. And just by saying this, then also or by thinking like that, then we notice that maybe there is tension, maybe on the face, very often. Me, yeah, I'm talking about myself. Kind of pulling the eyes together sometimes. Or the cheeks a bit. So now, when we kind of notice that we can breathe freely, and there's again the telephone ringing, I think. So we notice that we can breathe freely, then there's a smile on our face because there's gratitude, which relaxes the body and the mind. And everything is so much easier when we are spacious and relaxed. And with awareness we can train to be relaxed. But we need to notice it. Okay, so then you check your motivation again. Why am I doing this? Why do I, have a meditation practice? Why do I listen to Buddhism? And to be honest with yourself. And bodhicitta, the mind to attain full awakening, has to be developed. It has to be trained. So we need to see the advantage of it. And especially if we study this text, it is to first develop bodhicitta, then make sure that it doesn't get lost, and now we're in the chapters where we make it increase with joyous effort or diligence or enthusiasm. So maybe again, the last time the verses that we looked at was by saying, life after life after life, we have to undergo problems, pain, difficult situations. And if I don't get out of samsara, this will never end. But it can end if I attain liberation and enlightenment. So the pains in our Dharma practice that we have to bear, it is worthwhile because it will end. We say the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe we haven't seen it yet, but we trust that it's there. So it's a far-reaching goal. It's not just for happiness now. If happiness now comes through our practice, then fine. If not, it doesn't really matter because that's not the point. It's not the goal. And then why do we want liberation and full awakening? Because we want to be of benefit to all sentient beings. Because we owe it to them. Because every lifetime, so many people have to do their jobs properly. Not just people, but also animals. For us to have the life that we have. To be able to survive. To have some joy. To have some fun. To have some pleasure. To do sports. To entertain ourselves. To be loved. We need other beings. And so we want to repay that kindness, and the best way we can do that is to lead them to the state of liberation and full awakening as well. We can only do this as a fully enlightened being. Now again, don't get hung up on words, okay? If the words I am using, they don't seem to fit you, use other words. For example, with liberation, I'm sick and tired to be under the control of my unhelpful emotions. It's another way of saying, I want to get out of samsara. Wanting full awakening, like I'm not just want to be free of my unhelpful emotions, but I want to develop all the qualities that I need in order to know how to be of benefit to others. Long term, not short term. And then check what these thoughts are doing to the state of your mind. And the more we think these thoughts, the more effect they will have on us, the more they will kind of come from the head to the heart. And as we look at the text now, don't think, oh, bodhicitta is too difficult, it's too high. It is not. We're just training. And we're starting with small acts. This is the verses we're going to look at. Because that's what the Buddha taught. Start small, start where you are. You can let yourself be inspired by beings who give their life, or when you read the stories of bodhisattvas who gave their limbs or their life. That's the goal. But we start what seems right for us at the moment. So no need to be afraid. And we all want to have meaningful life. So what could be more meaningful than the wish to benefit all sentient beings? Not all sentient beings at the same time. We cannot do that. Not even the Buddha can. But whoever comes, all sentient beings means not choosing, oh, this one I like, this one I help, this one I dislike, this one definitely I don't help. Not like this. To have an open heart for all beings, whether they're good people or whether they're harmful people, intelligent or not intelligent, belonging to my country or not, doesn't matter. We don't need to choose anymore. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So maybe to get a taste of it, just think about one person that you really like. You feel joyful when you see the person. You feel joyful when you are together with the person. You feel joyful when you can help. And then think, wow, a fully awakened being has these kind of sensations and feelings for all beings. That's what I want. And then just, when you think these thoughts, look what your mind says. Does it cringe and say, oh, no? Or does it say, wow, yeah, this is what I want. That's why I'm doing these practices. You choose, you decide. Okay. The homework was check your state of mind in the morning before you go out of the house, wasn't it? And if it's not in a good state, try to do something that makes it more spacious. We kind of said we don't want to use the word happy anymore. We use spacious, open heart, whatever. Did you remember? Or, maybe another good way also is when you feel that you are spacious, that immediately you want to share that you feel it and you go, wow, I feel so great. And then think, may all beings enjoy this state of mind instead of just enjoying it for yourself. I was noticing that I was walking down the street and I love to shovel snow. Okay, and we had snow, so I said, okay, I go and shovel up there in the house in the mountains. I was really looking forward to that, especially a good friend of mine said, okay, I'll come as well. And I was walking down here to the train station. I was so happy. And I forgot to think my all beings enjoy that happy feeling. I totally forgot. And this is what Netta said last time, you know, when you said, yeah, but if you have realized emptiness and this and that, won't you be thinking about others? If I look at myself and I'm really happy, I forget about others. I just want to enjoy my happy state of mind. Me. How is it with you?
This is a difficult question.
Peter?
Probably are like you. I said
Huh?
it's a difficult answer to give. Because most of the time when we are happy, I don't think we stop and say, may all beings be happy as I am. I actually don't do it. Usually don't do it. Only
Yeah,
when you remind me.
I forget, but I tell you, it's such a nice thought. It increases your happiness also. If you want to be
Okay, now I'll
selfish,
pay attention to it.
if you want to be selfish, then then do like this and think, oh, my all beings enjoy that. This is why we train, you see, so that then it comes spontaneously and you want to share your happiness. You know, we think when we're happy, we want to share our happiness. If I look at myself and the real motivation, I want others to see that I'm happy because I want to impress them. Look at me, I'm so happy. And when I'm not so happy, I don't want to go out. I don't want to show myself. You know, we have a tendency to hide when we're not so well. Unless it's somebody that you really like and you're looking for help, then that's another thing. But people that you, especially people you dislike, you don't want to show them that you suffer. Yeah? And so this is why it's so important always to check your motivation. And don't worry again, you know, you're not becoming paranoid, that you're always looking, oh, what's going on in my mind? It's not going to be like this. It becomes a habit. Like the habit that we have now, when you feel a pain in your body, very naturally you move. This is something we have developed. We use an antidote when you have, like it's cold, I put on the sweater, or, the shawl, I put it on, or it's too hot, I take it off, and all this. This with training, this we will do with the mind, with time. Yeah? So don't worry, you're not becoming neurotic kind of thing. Netta.
Yeah, but I think I can't imagine it, but if I didn't have this self, that moment of happiness, would I need this awareness of now I will think about others, or will it come spontaneously?
That's what they say, because otherwise you just stay in your bliss. This is it, I mean, I don't want to say any. We have a few verses here who talk about Shravakas, the advantage of being a Bodhisattva and what is Shravaka. Like, I think it's Dharmakirti or Chandrakirti, who again, me, and I think it's Dharmakirti who says the realization of emptiness in a Shravaka or in a Bodhisattva is the same. But their level of compassion is different. Yeah, so like, for example, maybe let's look at the verses because it will become more clear. That it like one of these following verses is that, like not having pain in your body comes from merit. And you create a lot of merit when you think, may all beings be happy. Now, again, the motivation is not to think, may all beings be happy so that I get the merit. You want to get the merit in order to have the power to lead others to enlightenment. That's why you need the merit. You want to have the merit or the positive energy to realize emptiness. Not for you, but so that you become more useful for others. Okay? Of course, if you just do it for yourself, then it's not bodhicitta, that's for sure. And whether this is just for yourself or whether it is because you want to become a Buddha, this depends on you. It doesn't depend on anybody else. The motivation is you created, So it says that not having pain in the body comes from having merit, like generosity, ethical conduct, patience, and these kinds of things. Then, of course, having no pain in the mind, this comes from wisdom. Yeah. So, as a bodhisattva, on the first level, like it is said, I think it's Dharmakirti says in the somewhere. It is said. I repeat what is said in the text. Okay. It is said that a bodhisattva, like first level bodhisattva and an Arya being, those are beings who have realized emptiness directly when they are in meditation, okay? So, but because a bodhisattva has a lot of merit, he also doesn't experience any more body discomfort, whereas an Arya being still does, okay? Because the bodhisattva has more merit. Now it's not going, oh, you shouldn't be just a shavaka or whatever. It's just explaining the difference of motivation between the two, and then also the difference of result, even on the path. But it talks about beings who are, like who are on the path of seeing and above, who have realized emptiness. Okay. But Netta, if you'd rather go into the Pali vehicle, that's fine. The Buddha taught both vehicles, right? And both vehicles are legal. Are okay.
I will let you know.
Yeah, I will. I have many friends who are in the Pali vehicle. And sometimes I think, me as an unrealized being, they have more compassion than I have. So it's like, this is, it's absolute choice. But from my side, I'm not worrying so much what will happen to them once they are on the path of seeing. This is then, what they will experience and what they will do. I want to be in the Bodhisattva vehicle, and because I find it very inspiring. And but I'm not saying that it's better than the Pali vehicle, okay? Okay, so we had verse 24 last time, and these other ones where we were a little bit afraid here. When it started off by saying, but nevertheless it frightens me to think that I might have to give away my arms and legs, without discrimination. So then he continues to say, but you've been suffering for countless eons for nothing, so you might as well kind of suffer for something worthwhile. And it's worthwhile to take a little bit of suffering for big results, like full awakening. And then also it says that the Buddha's teachings are not violent, because they teach peace and all this, So, so then verse 25 here, can you see the text? Yeah, I think so. Huh? At the beginning, the guide of the world encourages the giving of such things as food. Later, when accustomed to this, one may progressively start to give away even one's flesh. Okay? So this is what I said before. We start to learn to give, to make an altar, and we give to... This is another thing, when they say, yeah, but on the altar to give it to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, like they're not even coming to collect it. So what's the point of making offerings? Because it's the power of the object. Yeah, do you remember that whomever you give to, or your karma, with these the power of different objects? Do you remember? Anybody remembers that? That they, usually in the Lamrim, they talk about 3 very powerful objects. Anybody would like to say who they are? And why they're so powerful?
Parents, I think.
Yeah, parents. Why are they powerful?
They gave us something very precious.
Right. We owe a lot to them. They gave us this life. If your mom would have said, oh, I don't want any children, thank you, she would have aborted. when she was pregnant with you, but she didn't. And then for many, many years, like until they die almost, they always are concerned about your happiness. Sometimes I do admit not in a very skillful way, because they also don't have that much wisdom, but, but their wish for you to be happy is definitely there, spontaneously. So that's why they're very powerful objects. But again, it doesn't mean that, if your parents are harming you, because there are parents who are harming children. It's rare, but it happens, So it doesn't mean because they're powerful objects of karma that you shouldn't maybe go and seek help so that you're protected from them. It doesn't mean that. What it means is that you try to understand why they're doing this, that you also understand it's your karma to be born to these parents. I know it's very hard to say this, but this is what it is. And that they're so confused that they are and so unhappy that they're harming their children. But it doesn't mean that you have to stay with them if they're harming you. So it's absolutely fine to move away, but also to move away with an attitude, or not to have contact with them, with an attitude, if I'm not having contact with them, they're not creating more negative karma by harming me. So then you also include them in your wish to be protected. So you are protected, your parents are protected. Is that clear? Yeah. And it's very, very difficult, it's rare that I have people on the courses, and I only find out when they talk to me and tell me what happened. It's rare that I have people who have been really mistreated by their parents, but it happens. But it's very, very rare. So then, you wouldn't take your mom, when you develop bodhicitta, as the example of the most kind person in your life. So you would take somebody else where it is easier, but slowly work your way towards your mom, because it is your mom who has given you this body. Whether you want or not, right? It's like, so it is the most important person in this life, is your mom. But also when we think about the mothers being the most kind people in our life, it's like, if you can't do it with the mother in this life, this mother in this life who hasn't been very kind, or dad in this life, they have been kind fathers and mothers in past lives, because we've had lives since beginningless lifetimes. So one learns to think in a very skillful way, so that you're not harming yourself, right? But you're also not harming yourself by keeping that anger, because if we keep the anger, we're harming ourselves. But don't push to kind of suppress your anger, because they say, I'm not allowed to be angry at my parents because I'm a bodhisattva, but they harmed me, and I feel compassion for them. That's the goal, right? This is the goal, that you feel compassion for them. But when you feel compassion for somebody, it doesn't mean you let them do whatever they want to do. Okay, so one object is parents. One heavy object of karma is parents. So that means not just negative karma, but positive karma. So whatever you do for your parents, it gives a lot of merit, because you repay the kindness. Even though as they get older, it's very difficult, and we're not so prepared to do it, but it is very rewarding to look after your parents until they die, if you are able to do that. If you're not able to do that, don't do it. Don't force yourself. But try. It's really worthwhile. Okay, and then the two other ones, usually they talk about 3 objects.
Guru.
Sorry?
Guru.
The guru, yeah, the guru are the 3 jewels, right? So the 3 jewels is a bit difficult to give them, because I put it on the altar and then I give it away to the neighbors, or I eat it myself. And the water, then it gets thrown out. But the guru, we can make offerings. And do you remember the 3 kinds of offerings to the guru?
Body, speech, and mind.
Good guess, not the right one. But yeah, it's okay. It's also okay to offer body, speech, mind. It's fine. I can do that with Smadara. I think I can talk to her like this without her being offended about the case. Because, you do, actually there is a practice of offering body, speech and mind. But in general, more specific things, right? So you can offer, first offering, the lowest offering is material things, like, for example, you give the guru money because they usually have projects, yeah? So that then you support the project of the guru. You can offer service, that you help with the project, or you run a center or something like that, or you offer you practice. That's what pleases the guru the most, that you practice in order to have an offering to the guru. Oh, how does that sound when you hear this? Who benefits when you practice a lot, so you have an offering to give to your guru? You know, you can take everything in the wrong way, all of these things. How does it sound when I say you practice really hard, so you have an offering to give to your guru?
I think.
Huh?
I think it is satisfactory. I think
Okay,
it should make me happy, because if I practice a lot, it means the guru has done something good too. So maybe he's helped to become a bodhicitta. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
Gratitude.
Gratitude, okay.
Yeah, gratitude.
Gratitude. How many of you have children?
I have.
Good, many.
I have also grandchildren.
Okay, so that's good. So when you're kids, you know, when we say like the guru is teaching us how to practice, you're teaching your children how to behave, okay? When you see that your children behave, you are very happy because of you or because of the children?
I don't know. I never thought about it, but if I think about it, I think it's because of the children.
Because of the children.
Exactly, of course, because of the children, because you see, when they behave, their life becomes easier. When they do what you tell them to do, life is much easier, right? So then you're happy. So that is, the guru will be very happy about our offering, but not because he will say, oh, look at me, I'm such a good guru, they practice so well, because they see it's good for us. So it's a very nice offering to do, offering your practice to the guru. But then don't go, oh, okay, I don't need to help at the center, I go and say mantras because that's much better, because that's practice. That is not a nice offering. You know, if you see that there's help needed and physical help, please, drop your mala and go and help, especially people who run groups and centers, so that they don't get discouraged, because then you make it possible for other people to meet the Dharma. Okay, so the guru or the three jewels are very, very powerful objects. So making offerings to the three jewels is extremely easy. Because as I said, all you have to do is fill these offering bowls in the morning. You need to know a little bit how, it's all ritual, and empty them in the evening. You create a lot of merit because you do a lot of visualizations by doing that. So it's easy, but then no, we don't do it. But it's a powerful object of making offerings, and it's very easy to make water bowl offerings. So this is where it says here in the text, the Buddha taught, at the beginning, the guide of the world encourages the giving of such things as food. Later, when accustomed to this, one may progressively start to give away one's flesh. So it is said when we give food, either on the altar or to other beings, then that creates a lot of merit, and this is how we start. We start easy. And actually giving food is such a nice thing. Because we all like to eat. Who doesn't like to eat who is listening here? See, nobody. So this is a very common general thing. We all like to eat, so everybody likes to receive food. So this is another very good offering. So then giving food it's the third object of heavy karma, is who? To give food to. The poor and the sick. These are very heavy objects also of karma. You know, giving food, buying the most beautiful cakes to somebody who already has everything because you want to impress them or something like that, is not much point. Yeah, but giving not just, you know, your old bread or your old stuff to the poor and to the needy, but also giving them good things, then that's a real giving. You know, things that they couldn't afford, not what you don't need anymore. It's much more joy also. Yeah, so then also from the puja, we had this in America, in California, we had this habit that from newness, where you make, you know, huge offerings and really nice things also. I said, why do we eat this ourselves also? Come on, we all end up being diabetics at the end. I said, why don't we go and give it to the homeless? So I tell you, they were so happy to get these beautiful things. Because usually they get cheap stuff, healthy stuff. You know, don't give nuts, healthy nuts to homeless people. They don't have teeth, they can't eat them. And they don't like sweets so much because their teeth are rotten, so it gives them toothache, you know. So it also, think a little bit, you know, not just healthy things, but also things that produces pleasure in them. Yeah. Yes, Israel.
I feel that giving things like food, something that is outside of yourself, is easy.
Yeah, that's
Because
how we start.
you
This is
go
why
and,
we start
yeah,
with this.
easy.
Yeah.
I feel that is harder and more, if in my book, is more rewarding somehow to give yourself. You know what I mean? To give
Yeah,
yourself.
but this is what the, you know, this is exactly the verse, my dear Israel. Look, this is what it says. He taught at the beginning to give things as food because it's easy. Then when you are used to this, you can give yourself.
So I'm already in the second part.
So you're already, the food is, but keep giving, so you're already there, so that's good. But keep giving food also, you know?
Food is, by the way, you know, it's easy. So is already I passed the stage of the food. You know what I mean?
Ooh, food, to give food is easy as long as you're not hungry. I am not so sure if you don't have enough, if you would find it just as easy to give it away. The one that, you know, the food that is yours. Again, with
You know,
compassion.
be equal.
With compassion, it's easy because if there's not enough to eat, who will get the food? The parents or the children?
Children.
The children.
The children, because you love them, right? So this is why, again, love is very important. And this is why also, even though we think giving food is easy, but how we give food, that is important. And that we give it with a lot of joy, because we see, wow, I create so much merit with such an easy thing. And I produced the habit of giving food, and therefore, you know, at one point I will be able to give away myself, my time, my knowledge, and then even later on my body. Yeah.
But there you have a lot of questions that I had.
Like what?
Do I give food because I want to have a good karma? Do I do it for myself to get some kind of reward?
Yeah.
No, you ask yourself many times. I
Of
ask.
course. So you have, before you give, you check your motivation and then you adjust it.
Yeah. So
This is, you know, this is what I was saying. I notice things in me, even now after 30 years of practice, that I'm kind of walking down the street and being happy to go and shovel snow. Because also the house I was shoveling snow, I wanted to make this person happy because I have attached connection with her. You know, I like her very much. Also, I'm in her studio here. So I don't know if I would have had so much joy to go and shovel snow to somebody that I dislike. So, you know, one notices these motivations and then you adjust, right? But because just by seeing your kind of like not so pure motivation, it already becomes a little bit purer. You know, like when we see our unclean or, you know, selfish motivation, then already it doesn't have so much power anymore, and then we can lessen the habit a bit, because we are very selfish, you know, whether we want it or not. This is why we're still in samsara. Yeah, and of course there is a lot of things. Is it good? Is it not so good? Is it this? Is it that? With everything. I mean, this is samsara. Maybe let's continue with the verses because I wanted to go until verse 30 today. So this is why at the beginning we give food because this is what is quite easy to do. And then we continue at such a time when my mind is developed to the point of regarding my body like food. So this is what will follow then, maybe not after 1 week of giving food, but with time. Then what hardships would there be when it came to giving away my flesh? Yeah. So again, first start small, and then with time, at one point you can give away your flesh, and then you have these, you have these stories about, for example, a sangha. Do you remember a sangha when he was meditating in a cave because he wanted to have a direct perception of Maitreya Buddha, the Buddha of kindness, of loving kindness? And so he was in his cave and he kind of meditated 4 years, and he still didn't have a vision of Maitreya. Then he came, as he thought, wow, this is useless. And so he came out and he saw, what did he see? He saw a few things. So he saw kind of water dripping, on a stone. And because it was always dripping at the same point, it had made a hole. So he thought, oh, if something as soft as water can kind of soften, make a hole into a stone, I better go back. And so he went back. And then after 4 years again, so 8 years, still nothing happened, still no vision of Maitreya. And he came out again, and then he saw somebody who had a huge chunk of iron, and he was cutting needles to sew, and with so much patience. And then he thought, well, okay, if he can do that, I can also go back and meditate. Again 4 years, then it's 12 years, still no appearance of Maitreya. But when you meditate on Maitreya, you develop loving kindness, because Maitreya is the Buddha of love, right? So he came out and he saw a dog who was full of maggots. Maggots? He had a big wound on his back and he was full of maggots, and he felt so much compassion for the dog, and he wanted to free the dog of the maggots. But he knew that, well, if I take the maggots off, they have nothing to eat anymore. And if I take them off, I will break them because they're very fragile. So first he cut off a piece of his leg so that they would have something to eat. And because he'd been meditating 12 years on loving kindness, so he had a lot of merit, no pain. He just cut it off. And then he was kind of thinking, okay, I'll take these maggots off with my tongue. I put my tongue in the wound of that dog, and then the maggots will go on my tongue, and then I can put them on that piece of flesh. Can you imagine? So he was kind of sticking out his tongue. He was closing his eyes, they say, though. But he was sticking out his tongue, and he was going, and there was no dog. And he opens his eyes, and there is Maitreya. So he said, come on, where have you been? 12 years I've been meditating on you, and you never appeared. Where have you been? And Maitreya said, well, I was always with you, but you didn't have the karma to see me. And through that act of kindness towards that dog, which is really like being able to cut your flesh and take these maggots, then now you can see me directly because your potential has been awakened or brought to the surface. And then Asanga was so happy, and he said, okay, now I go down to the village and I show you to all the people. And he said, Maitreya said, the people down in the village, they won't see me the same way as you didn't see me. He didn't believe him. So he put him on his shoulders and he went down, and then there was an old lady who saw a sick dog on Asanga's shoulder. Everybody else didn't see anything at all, and they all thought he had gone crazy in his 12 years of meditation. There's a very nice story, actually, about what we see, kind of depends on our karma. So then that's the story here, because he had been meditating, he's training his mind to give away even his flesh, so that it was no problem when he saw that sick dog after 12 years of meditating on Maitreya. Then, having forsaken all evil, there will be no suffering, and due to wisdom there will be no lack of joy. Yeah. So when we give up creating negative karma, our life becomes very happy. Nobody can harm us anymore. And due to wisdom, so this is kind of method here, then method and wisdom, the two wings. And due to wisdom, there will be no lack of joy because we have realized emptiness, and then there's no more mental suffering. But now my mind is afflicted by mistaken conception, and my body is caused harm by unwholesome deeds. Okay, so that's the future here. When we have forsaken all evil, there will be no more suffering, and due to the wisdom, there will be no lack of joy. So we need to know why we are taking these difficulties now, and the difficulties of the past, and we need to know why we are suffering now. So, my mind is afflicted, I go crazy, depressed, angry, attached, jealous, all this, because I have mistaken conceptions, and my body is causing me pain or problems because of ripening negative karma from the past. Yeah, like that. Then, as their bodies are happy due to their merits. Now here he talks about bodhisattvas, yeah? And their minds are happy due to their wisdom. So this is what I said before. People have healthy body because of their merit, not because of medicines and vitamins. Okay? Medicines and vitamins can cause conditions to have a healthy body, but the main point is to have merits. So I must have some merit, because having been an alcoholic for so many years, my brother who never drank excessively, he died of liver cancer. Okay, if it's only this one life, if somebody in our family should have died of liver cancer, it should have been me and not my brother. Okay, so I must have some merits that I recovered quite well and my body didn't suffer so much. The only thing is suffering now with the liver is that I can't eat so much fried food because it gives me headache. But also other people have this, not just alcoholics. And their minds are happy due to their wisdom because they have realized emptiness. Even if they remained in cyclic existence for the sake of others, why would the compassionate ones ever be upset, right? So bodhisattvas, when we then have reached the path of seeing, even staying in this very difficult samsara where everybody has problems and it's very difficult to make people happy. Have you ever, people who suffer and we want to make them happy, have you ever tried? Does it really work? No, but still we try again and again and again. We're not giving up. And still, if you don't have that many expectations that they should be happy, but you're doing it just for the sake of doing it, because it makes you happy in a way, not because you want to be happy, but just for the sake of doing it, this is for the bodhisattvas. They don't mind coming back into samsara again and again and again and again. Even samsara is such a mess. They actually feel joy that sometimes, one person kind of changes their mind a little bit. Yeah. Like, that when, if your kid, one afternoon they're doing their homework without complaining. You're so happy, isn't it? So this is the bodhisattvas. They have so much courage and the purpose of coming back is, you see, when a bodhisattva comes back to samsara also, doesn't stay in nirvana, but comes back to samsara, because he needs to create more merit in order to attain full awakening. So they need to practice the 6 perfections. So they need people who are difficult. They need people who are needy so that they can practice generosity and patience. Is that clear? Yeah, it's not so difficult to understand. Then 29, due to the strength of this awakening mind, the bodhisattva consumes his previous evils. So having bodhicitta, it purifies so much negative karma and harvests oceans of merit. Not only purifies, it also creates merit. Hence, he is said to excel the Shravakas. Here, this mention of Shravakas, because you purify much quicker when you do it for all sentient beings, and because you create so much more merit. Yeah, it sounds as if it's saying that, you know, the Shavakas are a bit lower, but anyway, it's not what it means. It's to encourage you to be able to bear the pain, because at one point, if we continue, we will be on the path of seeing. Yeah. So again, the wisdom of the Shavaka is the same. You know, realizing emptiness is exactly the same, but their actions. Somebody has to close the microphone. But their action, because it's done with bodhicitta, it becomes so much more powerful for purifying negative karma and creating merit. So now verse 30, which is one of the favorite verses of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I wanted to finish with that one. So having mounted the horse of an awakening mind that dispels all discouragement and weariness. I mean, having bodhicitta, it is so meaningful. How can you doubt that? You know, it is so joyful. To whatever action you do, when it's mixed with bodhicitta, it becomes the cause for full awakening. So having mounted the horse of an awakening mind that dispels all discouragement and weariness, who, when they know of this mind that proceeds from joy to joy, would ever lapse into despondency or discouragement? Yeah, that's so beautiful. You know, it really shows us the power of bodhicitta. If you look at somebody like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Rinpo Rinpoche, or the lamas that you know, Chadu Rinpoche, Demolocho Rinpoche, the one who knew him, you know, his body was so much suffering. I don't know if you remember. I remember when he came to Israel, he had so much problems prostrating. Leora Price was next to me, and she felt so much compassion for him because she could see the pain that he had in his body. And I kind of nudged her, and I said, "Stop crying. You know, he's not suffering. Be inspired by this instead of feeling, oh, poor thing, he has so much pain in his body." Right? So to see them, how much courage they have. Like Lama Zopa, after his stroke, he still does like long prostrations. It takes him so much to get up again, but he does it, you know, and he got all his speech back actually, almost. And you know, at the beginning you couldn't understand what he was saying, and he was laughing all the time because he was trying to make himself understood, and nobody understood what he was saying, and he thought he was so funny. I don't know if anybody ever saw that video. This video is in hospital in Australia. He has to swallow a pill. And I think it was Kunkye no Sherab, I can't remember, who puts the pill on his lip so that he can swallow it. But it keeps falling off, you know. And Rinpoche is doubled over with laughter. You see him in a singlet with a bib because, you know, all his bit was kind of running out. And they were making a video. And it was public. You know, we would hide probably somewhere if he would be in such a state. His lip was hanging down like this, and he was just laughing. And he was, you know, people were we were sad and we were frightened and all this. And with his laughter, he was cheering everybody up. It didn't take long until everybody around him in the hospital room was also laughing. Yeah, so when we see the courage, you know, Garchen Rinpoche also, you can see that his body is not well. But if you look at him, he's always in a good mood and he's making jokes and he kind of cheers us up. And he's not going, oh, but, you know, he's not going like we do. When we want to cheer somebody up who is suffering, we start to tell my story. But look at me, I also have pain here, I also have pain there. Blah, blah, blah. They're not doing like this. They're just cheering us up by showing us, even your body is like gone, you can still have a lot of fun and joy in your life. Yeah, so why? Because they are bodhicitta. So His Holiness was mentioning that verse in his this dialogue. How can you be discouraged when you are on the horse of bodhicitta? And if you remember at the beginning of this chapter, Shantideva uses the wind in the sails so that you can cross the ocean of samsara. So here he uses the horse. Horse also, very swift, very quick, very light, very, you know. So just if you feel a bit discouraged, then remember that verse. Try to learn that verse by heart also. You know, it doesn't have to be so elaborate as this one, just this one, you know. How can you, when you feel like, oh, and you go, how can I be discouraged? I'm riding on the horse of bodhicitta. How can I be discouraged? And see what it does to you. That's your homework. Okay? And so we didn't do the reflection from Rick Hansen. We'll start the next session with that one. I make a note so I don't forget, because it's really beautiful. It's to remember there are so many good things in our life that kind of last, you know, like the memories and all this. It's a very beautiful reflection. So we do next time. And now we dedicate all the positive energy that we have created, so we will all have bodies without any pain and without any fatigue. You know, that we can, full of enthusiasm and diligence, and, you know, we can have boundless energy to and joy in order to finish that path to full awakening. Why? Because we want to be of benefit to all sentient beings and lead them to that state as well. Okay? Okay, so we keep the hour at 8 o'clock because it looked to me that was the majority of people who wanted that. And I think also for the 29th, we also start at 8 o'clock. So we do something at 4 o'clock and we do something at 8 o'clock. And so we keep to the same time. Okay? And it will be on the website, what we do.
So from what we understand, you're not coming over here.
Well, I cannot. Your country is not allowing me to do that. So I rebooked the flight for the 12th of January. Because, you know, they said they would extend 10 days, like the closure of the country. Yeah, and then 10 days, it's the 25th, which is Christmas here. And I tell you, with all these holidays, to get a PCR test, to travel between Christmas and New Year's, no, thank you very much. So I said, okay, instead of, you know, waiting and hoping that they will open after 10 days, I book for the 12th of January and then we see what happens. We just keep trying, it's okay. Yeah, so what can we do? There's nothing we can do. Also, I understand. I mean, traveling at the moment is not a very clever thing to do. It's really because you need so many papers. There's so much confusion with the airlines. What do I need? Do they have all the papers? It keeps changing. Actually, I think Israel wants to put all European countries on the red list, which is reasonable because Switzerland, again, today we had 11,000 new infections. And you know, in French, I used to call, today I was calling it Omnicron. You know, it's like, so yeah, so this what's it called? Omicron. It hasn't even arrived yet. And we
Omicron.
had, okay, so we have 11,000 infections today. And it keeps rising, right? And so, yeah, so at the moment it's difficult again. And for us, no. I think what is really bad is, or difficult is for the people working in the hospitals. I mean, they're really having a really, really, really hard time. Yeah, so they are all exhausted. They don't see the end of it, and it just continues and continues. And people are dropping out, like even, you know, not losing their, getting away from their jobs because it's too difficult. They have burnouts, getting sick. They have to go into quarantine. So, you know, for what we are going through is nothing compared to other people who are sick and the people in the health system. So, and the people in the government who have to make decisions. You know, I wouldn't know what to do, really. It's very easy to criticize them, but I wouldn't know how to do any better. Okay, so we keep you informed anyway about, for the moment it's 12th of January. Okay? Maybe it will work this time, who knows, we'll see. Okay, so take care, have a good week, and don't forget to ride on the horse of bodhicitta. And look what it does to you. Exactly, as you know, you know, visualize. Again, you know, I read this article in a scientific kind of newspaper or something. It was not a Buddhist, it was a lady who wrote the article, and she said, and it was so, I thought like, wow, this is so true. She said, we have to always imagine that things come out for the best. because it does something, it's beneficial for the brain structure, right? But she said, but people are afraid of kind of imagining that things come out for the best because they're afraid to be disappointed. That's why they don't do it, and then the brain doesn't change. I thought that's really interesting, and this is why in Buddhism we do so much visualization of kind of visualizing yourself as a Buddha, sending out light, and everybody gets healed, and these kind of things. So as being a Buddhist, knowing that it kind of depends on your karma whether it works or not, but you can create the conditions for the karma to ripen, that makes so much sense. It makes so much sense, you know. So always imagine that things come out for the best, then when it doesn't happen, then you're not disappointed. You know, when I saw I can't come today, okay, I can't come today, no big deal. You know, but I still now, I visualize or I imagine I come on January, on the 12th of January. Yeah. And I might do some snow shoveling in the meantime. It's really nice, you know. Because, you know, going up to the mountains, it's in Anzer, so it's a ski resort. People go there to drink coffee. I went up there to do something useful, so it's even better, you know. Beautiful environment. I'll show you a picture next time. It's really, I mean, it's Switzerland at its best. You know, and the sky, totally blue, no clouds, and the fresh snow, which is still white, like not dirty. It's so beautiful. And then offer it to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and all beings, and yeah. Okay.
And enjoy the sound of walking on snow.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. When it's cold, it's not so cold. It's not cold enough yet to do that. So, but yes, it's very, snow is something quite magic, and the sounds get muffled. You know, it gets very quiet. Like the cars don't make so much noise and like that. So yeah. It's beautiful. I'll show you some pictures next time, not to make you jealous, but so you can rejoice about my snow joy. Okay. Bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Lotto.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Salam.
Thank you.